Hey, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Full disclosure, I'm about I don't know, a glass and a half of wine in at the moment. So this is definitely going to be an interesting spaces tonight. So it's about 9 p.m. over here. So good afternoon over in the UK. I think it's midday over there. I feel actually, I was thinking about this when I was scheduling the spaces that I'm not being very friendly towards the US, our US sort of counterparts. And I haven't really thought about it previously, but obviously being from the UK as well and having most of my friends' family over there and a lot of FPL managers over there as well, I always tend to sort of prioritize Australia and prioritize the UK. And yeah, I often sort of forget that I don't really think about the folks in the US. So I'm really sorry. And if you are listening from the US, I apologize. Maybe I can work out a time that's a bit more sort of friendly. If you're just joining, I mentioned at the start that I'm about a glass and a half. Maybe I'm about 2 glasses of wine in. I'm not sure actually. It's such a lovely rosé that I picked up while I was in Europe, and it was just staring at me today. And it's been one of those weeks where I've been, it's been pretty relentless actually. So it's been a really tough week from a work point of view. Probably a good problem to have, but we've just been really, really busy. And so I've been starting to plan a bit of travel as well for work. So, I apologize. I may not be doing something next week. I'm not sure. And Tien, I know you're listening from Canberra, so I might be in Canberra next week. So this is how I'm letting you know that I might be in Canberra next week. And it would be lovely to see you as well. So that's FPL Plano who's listening on Spaces tonight as well. So yeah, look, it's been pretty busy, but fuck, it's been such a long international break, right? Like it's been busy, but in a good way. But at the same time, it's been really stressful as well, like because work has been really stressful. But I've been, I have to admit, like I'm not sure if I tweeted like at the setup of my my office over here at home, and those of you that are watching on YouTube eventually when this is available on YouTube, you'll see that I've got a pretty decent office set up. But during the international break, the US Open was on as well, so I've been watching the tennis for majority of the international break, and it was only like at the end of the US Open, which was Sunday, I think the last matches were on. I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? There's nothing to watch, and I'm not really into the rugby, and I probably should get into it, but I've never been into like the AFL or rugby, or it's just not my jam. It's not been something that I've been into, so it's really difficult for me to just start watching something else. So yeah, so this week I've probably had a little bit more time to think about my team and start sort of tuning into FPL a little bit more. Also during international break, I started sort of tinkering a little bit more with my YouTube channel itself, and so those of you that have tuned in previously, so what I've been doing is talking to the FPL Twitter community, I guess, like through Spaces, and I really do enjoy that. I think the community is fantastic. I've learned lots from the community. It's my third, season with you guys, and it's just been fantastic connecting with so many people. I've made lots of friends from all over the world now, and fortunately, I got to go and visit, the UK just a month ago and meet so many of you as well. So really do appreciate it. And we've got a huge community over here in Australia as well. And funny enough, I actually met them through FPL Twitter. So yeah, this is, I guess, my way of sort of connecting with the community and just getting, some of those reactions and responses and through something like Spaces. So, if you've seen the YouTube videos, I've actually got a screenshot of the Spaces. So every reaction that you sort of give, it actually appears on my YouTube video as well. So I really do appreciate it. So the more reactions, the better. I'm actually quite surprised that I'm actually keeping my conversation fairly sort of together. I'm, as I mentioned, I'm about a couple of glasses of wine in, just to kind of unwind from the week that I've had. Yeah, look, it's been a great couple of weeks to tinker with my YouTube channel, as I mentioned. So I've been playing around with the graphics a little bit. I've been, playing around with like a bit of an intro and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know who I am. I probably shouldn't give up my day job. It's not that great, and I'm not trying to devalue any of the work that many of the content creators do. Yeah, look, some of the work I've seen is just really, really good, and so I don't want to sort of undervalue how much effort and time and energy it takes to kind of put that kind of content together, but also the transitions and the graphics and just like the visuals and things like that. And there's so many great YouTube channels that are doing really great work, and especially from a data and stats and all of that perspective. So if you've tuned in previously, these are supposed to be just completely random ramblings, and it was heavily inspired by just conversations I have with everyone along the way, and usually like predicaments during I don't know, an hour before the deadline is usually where I'm sort of like, oh fuck, I'm going to probably captain so and so, or I'm going to make a random transfer, or I'm going to take a -8 hit all of a sudden. And so it's nice to be able to kind of share that with the community and just kind of have it like this, have a conversation with you all and sort of, get a thumbs up or a thumbs down with some of the random shit that's going on. Because the international break has been so long, I actually had to go through my, I'm sure many of you do this as well. So I end up going through my photos on my phone just to have a look at what the hell has been going on. And, I realize I've just been spending a lot of time at the beach. So it's been getting warmer over here, thankfully, although, the temperature has been a little bit up and down. Canberrans, really sorry. I know it's been a bit cool over there, but Sydney's been pretty damn awesome. And I'm really enjoying it. And so, yeah, I've been doing a bit of coastal walks and, just kind of enjoying myself and enjoying the international break and consuming some content as well. So I want to give a shout out to the FPL Sidenet podcast. It's like one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to. And it's usually the one that I sort of check out when I'm just going for a walk or a run or something like that. So, yeah, I really do love it. And actually, you know what? The community in Australia just come up with some amazing content as well. So FPL Planner is actually involved in, I think it's called FPL IQ as well, which is going to be on shortly after this as well. So yeah, I just want to do a bit of a plug in for those guys as well. Like I learned so much from them. So yeah, I really do sort of appreciate how well the community is doing over here in Australia as well. I haven't really been up to anything else. I realized like I've taken a lot of photos of post-it notes, and you would have seen that appearing on my YouTube channel previously, but also on Spaces and on my Twitter feed as well. And it's really funny because like my general work process is, I'm obviously working. If my business partner's listening to this, oh shit, she's probably going to be like, is she working? But I am. Most of the time I am working, and I've got like the tennis on, and I tend to multitask, and I tend to kind of like have a stack of post-it notes, different colors. Sometimes different colors mean something different to me as well. And I, sort of posted up a couple of the post-it notes where I'll randomly have an insight about like wildcarding in West Ham players, or thinking about Trippier or Botman or Burn. No one's talking about, Dan Burn at the moment. And so I'll have like random thoughts while I'm reading, I don't know, like strategies or documents and policies and legislation if I'm working with like government clients. And occasionally a player will come to mind. And so I'll write it down on Post-it note. But then I'm pretty sure 80% of the Post-it notes that I write are things that make no sense whatsoever. So I pick them up and I'm sort of like, yeah, maybe Watkins made sense for this week, or game week 8 maybe is when I'm thinking about bringing him in. So I'll I've got a board behind me, and when you eventually look at this on YouTube or something, you'll see that I've got like right from game week 4 up to game week 10 with the European sort of fixtures and international breaks in between to give me a bit of guidance. But occasionally when I'm like writing players' names down or wild card or just random shit that I'm thinking about, I'll put it up on the board and I'll try and sort of review it and come back to it eventually. But yeah, it's been It's definitely been one of those international breaks where I've been reflecting a lot about my team, and I have to admit, this is the first season where I'm playing where I've not had the best start to the season, and I have to admit that I'm probably a bit more motivated by that as well. So not having a great start has meant that I'm working harder to think about, the players that I want to bring in, but also I've been a little bit more relaxed about how I'm approaching my transfers as well. So, whether I'm like planning a little bit more ahead as well. So I try and plan like 5 game weeks or so ahead, but I've been a little bit more chilled out about it than I have done previously. I think like last season, I started off around 200K, rank from game week 1. And I think within like the 3 or 4 game weeks, I was, hovering around that sort of 20K to 50K sort of mark. And that probably made me a lot more risk averse than I had been, in my first season. So my first season, I was super reckless. You would have heard me say this a million times as well. Really reckless with my transfers. I think I took something like 38 hits or something like that. I mean, 38 hits, not 38 points, right? Like 38 hits. That's insane. And so last season, I was a little bit more conservative. But this time round, it definitely feels different, because I've not had the best start to the season. I think I started somewhere around 800K, and at the end of game week 4, I'm sitting at 2.6 mil at the moment, which is really bad actually, like if I compare it to my previous 2 seasons. So, and that's the thing that I'm trying not to do. It's really difficult to compare to the previous 2 seasons that I've had, because they've been very different as well. So we're talking about my first season being 2020 and 2021 season, or actually no, 2021 2022 season, where there was so many sort of like fixture postponements and things like that as well. So yeah, it's really difficult to kind of compare it to a season like that where there was just too many different things going on. And last season, again, there was the World Cup as well. So again, it was a very different season. And so this is the first season where maybe it's going to be a bit more normal, like how everyone's been talking about. Every time I talk to FPL Planner, or like my friend PSB who's listening as well, they often sort of mention things like, yeah, this is not, the last couple of seasons have not been normal seasons. And so, yeah, I think if anything, being at around 2.6 mil right now is getting me to think about my team in an entirely different way and perspective. I feel like I'm less risk averse, which is really good, in my opinion anyway. It's also getting me to think about my team from a different perspective. I'm also feeling a little bit more confident about the choices that I'm making. I'm feeling a bit more sort of, I guess like, confident is one thing, but also just a little bit more convinced, that I'm picking the right sort of picks and making the right sort of choices. And, I should probably share my team and start sort of talking about my team as well. And, you can tell that this is a complete sort of ramble fest. So, be patient. I'll just post my team up. My team at the moment, and I'm pretty sure what you'll notice as the first thing that you'll notice when I post my team, actually, I'll come to the elephant in the room in a moment, and I think there could be several elephants in the room actually with my team that I've just posted up on this stream. So the first elephant in the room is that I've benched Walker, and look, hear me out. So I've benched Walker purely because I've got it in my mind at the moment, and I'm please do convince me otherwise. I'm totally open to, and this is why I love chatting to you guys. So at the moment, I'm thinking about benching Walker because I'm convinced that West Ham's probably going to score a couple of goals, or at least a goal. And so when I think about Walker's attacking returns, probably not so much. I'm not expecting much there. and I would be playing him ahead of Estupinian as well. And what I'm thinking is Estupinian playing against United, where they're probably struggling a little bit, along the was it their right flank, but Estupinian's left flank. Maybe there's some chance that Estupinian's going to get some attacking returns. So that was the first sort of slightly controversial thought that I had earlier in the week when I started thinking about my team. And so, look, at the moment, that's where I'm sort of sitting. And there's a few things there. So, like, for the sake of anyone who's going to be looking at this on YouTube, I'm just going to pull up my team as well. So it's on the screen over here as well. I've had a love-hate relationship with Gabriel. I don't know how many of you are still holding on to Gabriel, but I've had this massive, long love-hate relationship with Gabriel where, I thought he was going to be nailed. I brought him in. I was actually going with Saliba initially, spoke to a couple of people. And this is where, like, you've got to really sort of think about, the conversations that you're having with different people that you sort of trust and sort of connect with when it comes to FPL, and the content that you're consuming as well, right? And so, the caveat of the spaces that I have and sort of the content that I'm putting out on YouTube at the moment, anyway, is that this is specifically to do with my season, my team, and the choices that I'm making for, my team specifically, rather than sort of, what I'm recommending to everyone else. Like, I saw a tweet earlier today where I think someone was asking if you had Son, would you captain Son? Well, yeah. I would actually, because when I looked up Son's expected points, he's up there right at the top with the highest number of expected points. So, of course, I'm going to say, yeah, you should totally captain Son. I don't have Son in my team, though. And so, I have got Maddison. And as you can see, I have captain Maddison at the moment. And I'm hoping that the captaincy will stay there as well. Yeah, and I'll come to that elephant in the room in a moment as well. But if I start from the top, rather than sort of talking about Walker and getting stuck there a little bit, because I feel like I need to be convinced otherwise, and sort of maybe play Walker and bench Estupinian is where I'm sort of going with it. Look, I've got Turner playing in goal, which I'm sure most of you, those of you that went with the Pickford Turner option or rotation with the goalkeepers, I've gone with Turner to play. And of course, this week, and we sort of knew that there was a new goalkeeper coming into Forest, and so I've been a little bit nervous about that, like just kind of seeing that happen. But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm not sure if what I'm nervous about more. Is it that I'm playing Turner, or is that Turner's not going to play and Pickford's going to end up playing, like coming in as my auto sub? I'm not sure what I'm more frightened about. So I'm going to do what everyone is probably thinking to do as well, which is, I'm going to play Turner and hope that Turner does play, because he's probably got the best chance to, keep a clean sheet. Having said that, Pickford's talking about how he's, in the best season, like he's having, the best sort of fitness or time of his life or whatever he's been saying. So who knows, right? And I think Arsenal obviously, I don't know, like it's an away match for Arsenal, and Everton's always sort of got, something over Arsenal there. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's like a, bit of a conspiracy theory or something of, like the, I don't know why that happens, but I'm pretty sure it was like February or March this year where Arsenal lost 1-0 with Everton or something like that. Anyway, crazy shit can happen, basically, is what I'm trying to say there. So there's a high chance that Turner is not going to play. I really hope that's not the case, because like I say, he's probably got the best chance to keep a clean sheet. Gabriel, you know what? Like, seriously, I'm actually a little bit tired of talking about Gabriel and the saga around him. And I'm looking forward to eventually transferring him out. But, this is where I've learned to be a lot more patient than I have been in previous seasons as well. So, I feel like Gabriel is worth a transfer out, especially, the last couple of game weeks and how they've gone. But it seems like he is playing. And, the combination of Zinchenko and Gabriel, sort of, and how that sort of shapes up for Arsenal is looking good. So the likelihood of Gabriel playing against against Everton is fairly high. So all of a sudden, it's not really a problem in my team that I need to try and sort of try and deal with. So Gabriel's going to play. I know many other managers that I've seen, and I've been asking around, hey, I know you've got Gabriel as well, and you've still got Gabriel, so what are you doing with him? And they've said, yeah, we're probably going to play him. So yeah, I'm kind of in the similar sort of camp there. I'm going to play Gabriel. Chilwell, on the other hand, now it just seems like a no-brainer to play Chilwell because they're playing Bournemouth, but honestly, I don't know what the hell's going on with Chilwell and that Chelsea side. I don't know if there's any Chelsea supporters in the spaces at the moment, but yeah, let me know. Like, what do you think is going on there? Because he's been subbed off, fairly early as well. But look, a lot can happen. He's still very attacking, so he's going to play, in this case. Estupinian, as I very briefly mentioned, and I'll mention again, I've just got a gut feel on playing him over Walker at the moment. I mean, look, if it was up to me, I would play Walker as well. I think, like, realistically, I'd probably play four at the back. So I'd play Gabriel, Chilwell, Estupinian, and Walker. But I really want to play five in the midfield. So if I rattle off my midfield really quickly, so I've got Rashford, Mbeumo, Foden, Saka, and Maddison. And so when I look at it from that point of view, I don't see any other way other than playing all five of them. And that's the issue that we have, right? And I think, I've mentioned this before where I'd love to have 8 midfielders playing if I could and just have Haaland up top or something and not bother, having anyone else. And I think that's where I'm sort of like, what do I do? About this, because Jackson is another player that I feel a little bit uncertain about. But again, when I look at the stats and, as a FPL manager, I do eye testing. So over here in Australia, we have matches at ridiculous o'clock. But it doesn't mean that, we don't watch them over here. I do watch them. I love watching football. And, sometimes it is middle of the night and quite happy to stay up if I've got nothing going on the next day. When I say middle of the night, like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and sort of goes on till later. I can't wait for the time difference to change as well, because that will make a huge difference over here. I can actually watch some matches in the morning, like 5 a.m, 6 a.m, that kind of thing. That would be preferred, of course. But, yeah, I do some eye testing, but I also like following some data. And so there's some really good, channels out there that, go through the stats and data really, really well. Fran, FPL Fran, who does like his cheat sheets, they're fantastic. I sort of look at that and sort of, go back to that occasionally to just have a look at, what else could be, what are the other options available, right? And yeah, honestly, it's so difficult to make some of these decisions. And so I feel like, Jackson, from an underlying stats point of view, we can't ignore him because he's getting the chances. Yeah, he's not finishing them off at the moment, but he's still getting those chances. And the likelihood is, that he'll probably, convert some of those chances as well. And so, look, I went down the pathway of going Jackson instead of, picking Sterling. And I think there was a lot of like 50-50 decisions that have happened over the past, couple of game weeks as well. So where a lot of players ended up not bringing in Maddison, bringing in Sterling. And, up front, I've seen some managers who still have Pedro, up front as well. Or they've got Alvarez, right? And so, they picked up Alvarez. I've got Foden. And so, yeah, I kind of, picked the players based on, my team and what I had, in front of me. And so, yeah, look, ideally, if I had to pick today, if I was wildcarding, which it seems like a lot of managers are wildcarding, and honestly, I've not sort of, picked out a particular game week where I definitely want a wild card. The whiteboard behind me with the shit ton of post-it notes as well suggests at the moment that I'm probably going to wild card, after the international break, which will probably be for like game week 9 or something like that. And obviously there's a couple of swings in between all of that as well. So, as I was chatting to PSB earlier today, we were talking about, hey, look, if I sort of, threw a curveball into my team at at the moment and decided to bring in Son and captain Son, will I want to keep him a bit more long term? And game week 8 is probably another game week where I probably would want to captain someone like, a player like Son as well. So yeah, it's an opportunity. I think they're playing Luton then. So yeah, look, on the off chance that that happens, I don't know yet, because obviously I've got my captaincy on Maddison at the moment, but on the off chance that I decide very last minute to take out, I'm not sure who. And I think that's the predicament, right? Because I'm quite happy with the team that I have. However, and when I'm usually happy with the team that I have and I'm sort of wondering, am I missing something? That's when I sort of look at, AI and other tools and things that are available. And so I did shove it into shoved my team. I sort of brought up my team. You can tell I'm like 2.5 glasses of wine in now. I brought up my team on FPL Review and just had a look at the points prediction on there, but also got a bit of a sense of what sort of transfers it's recommending to me. And if I sort of have a quick look at it, it sort of suggested that I should transfer out Foden and bring in Son and captain Son, because Son's got the highest number of points, predicted for game week 5. And so that's the problem with sort of looking at AI tools and looking at some of the data available and, the rest of it. It sort of pulls you away from some of those gut instincts that you have, or gut calls that you want to make, and sort of steers you in a slightly different direction. You can call that sort of actually that's a good strategy to have, right? You're getting the best perspective and the fullest sort of view of how to make your decisions. But now it's put me in a slightly I guess confused state to work out whether I should bring in Son. And I've got a free transfer available to me, right? So, I could do that. So I could take out Foden and bring in Son if I want to. I'm not sure if I want to, though, because again, Foden is a player where when he goes off, he will, and, he has been playing really well. He got a goal the other day during the international break. And yeah, look, I know like they were playing Scotland, no discredit to Scotland or anything like that, but Foden's got loads of potential, and I think so long as he doesn't get rotated and so long as he's playing, he's always creating chances. There's a lot of opportunity there. So yeah, so this is where these tools are really, really helpful, but at the same time, they do sort of throw those curveballs in. And so if I'm honest, I'm seriously considering bringing in a Son as well. So I'm probably going to leave that very last minute, though, in terms of decision making, because when I look at the rest of my team, so Mbumo is like, I brought in Mbumo because every week that I didn't have him, he was just smashing me on the EO, right? Like I was getting really pissed off every time that he was just getting these. I don't want to I don't want to discredit him in any way, but they were like lazy returns, right? Like it was either a pen or a tap in or something like that. So I brought in Mbumo, and as we know, Newcastle have been leaky. And so even though part of my planning, the next sort of 5 game weeks or so that we've got, that I tend to plan anyway, I feel like, I want to bring in some Newcastle players, but I'm not entirely sure which ones that I'd want to go for at the moment, because they've got European matches coming up as well. I'm starting to eye up Trippier. Trippier was really great for me last season. I'd love to have Trippier in my team, but he's not been quite where we would expect him to be. And so I'm a little bit skeptical about bringing in Trippier at the moment. But at the same time, Newcastle have had really tough fixtures. So I think if I was to make a transfer, it would have been a defensive transfer. But I'm quite happy with the defense that I've got at the moment. And so, yeah, I'm thinking about future transfers as I sort of think about, if I was to take out Foden and bring in Son, that's like an extra mil and a bit that I'm spending on a player, and that then means I think I've got something like 2 mil in my bank at the moment, but that then means that I can't switch over a Baldock or a Gabriel if I actually finally get rid of Gabriel from my team. I can't switch them out for a Trippier because I'm going to be outpriced, and if I want to eventually bring in, of course, wildcard is sort of available to me a couple of game weeks later. But if I want to like think about some of those one or two transfers that I want to make up to the wildcard whenever I choose to play the wildcard, I'm not sure how I'd be able to do that if I bring in a Trippier. So at the moment, I'm really tentative. I feel like I'm keeping my cards close a little bit when it comes to the defensive sort of transfers that I want to make in the team. So yeah, I haven't fully sort of decided there. And then you've got teams like Villa who've got really good, really good fixtures coming up soon. And, like further down the line, you've got like West Ham who've got decent sort of fixtures as well. And, they're sort of going under the radar at the moment as well. So I then go back to my sort of, 5 in the mid, and I think about Rashford. And the whole time that I've got Rashford, I'm thinking maybe that should have been Bruno. And so those of you that have Rashford and Bruno and you're thinking about like chucking one of them out, it's probably, I don't know, like, where are you leaning towards? Are you leaning towards throwing out, Bruno from your team? Probably not, because he's on pens and, he's just looked really, really good as well. So maybe Rashford's the one. And given that he's now, he's just dropped, I think he dropped in price the other week or something. So he's like 8.9 or something like that. So that's an option, like to go Rashford to Son as well. But look, United's playing Brighton. So, not to kind of undermine United in any way. Like, of course, they've had like lots of little issues here and there. But Rashford could still get some really good returns as well. So, look, at the moment, Rashford's not going anywhere. And Bumo, I'm going to stick with him for the time being. The EO is just insane. And I don't know, I never used to follow the EO too much, but now I'm like, I should probably consider that a little bit more than, than sort of, previous years anyway. And Foden, probably the only one that I could think about getting rid of for Son if I really, really wanted to, and to captain Son. So at the moment, I've got my captaincy on Maddison. Saka's not going anywhere at the moment. Arsenal's actually got really good fixtures, coming up as well. So I don't see the point sort of removing someone like a Saka, especially if he's still on pens as well. So I think I'm just going to keep Saka in the team for the time being. Although the other Gabriel, the Gabriel that I wouldn't mind having in the team, is actually picking up form as well. And, we've seen that Gabriel plays so well as soon as he's, playing in that, Arsenal side. So I feel like, Gabriel would be another player that I would think about bringing in if I wanted to ditch Saka eventually, because the midfield is so stacked at the moment and there's just too many options available to us. So that's something I'm definitely sort of considering. But again, this is when I start thinking about the EO again, right? And so, it's a tough one. Maddison. So Maddison, at the moment, everything seems to be going through him. And I was looking at some of the heat maps and just kind of positional sort of stats and things like that. I love looking at that kind of stuff. And, I've made a decision not to go too much into like the rambling sort of chats that I'm having with you guys. But occasionally, I think when I sort of bring on a guest or something like that on Spaces, and as I mentioned earlier, it will be available on YouTube as well. It'll be really good to talk a bit more stats there. But Maddison's just looking phenomenal at the moment, and it seems like everything's going through him. But I think the biggest curveball was, Son playing up front. And so it's going to be interesting to see where Son plays on the weekend, because if he's playing up front again, all of a sudden he just becomes a really good, viable option to bring in and captain, because he's likely to be, getting, like he's going to finish those opportunities, right? More than what Richarlison's able to at the moment. And fair play to Richarlison, like he's been off with Brazil he did score a goal, and he's obviously acknowledged that there's a bunch of psychological sort of stuff that's going on there, and kudos to him to kind of like come back and try and sort of focus on those things as well. So yeah, look, he might sort of integrate back into the team as a different players, but in the interim, we can see that Son is playing really well up front there. So I would love to see him play up there a bit more. Last season wasn't a great season for Son, which is a real shame. But we definitely started to see a little bit more of that kind of, the Son that we know from the previous seasons as well. So, yeah, I'd love to be able to kind of, see Son do really, really well. I just, love him as a player. So, yeah, it just makes him all of a sudden a really good option. Haaland. Let's talk about Haaland and captaincy. So, gosh, this has been a really tough kind of decision to make. Actually, before I sort of jump onto Haaland and the drama llama around Haaland and captaining Haaland or captaining Maddison, I'm just going to have a look at if there's any sort of really quick questions or anything like that I can. So nuclear atoms, West Ham can easily score with the team they have now. They are no mugs, so benching Walker isn't a bad decision at all. Thank you so much. That's like confirmation bias right there. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Maddo captaincy. I'll come back there in a moment. Foden instead of Walker. If he returns, then I will. So this is from Mohan. If he returns, then I will return and delete my comment here. It's been captured. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to pull that up on the screen as well, just so everyone can see that. It's been captured. The comments available to everyone to look at, so you can't go off and delete any of that. I'm kind of screwed on goalkeeper position. Thank you for that, nuclear atoms. I think me and many other managers as well. So coming to Haaland or a Spurs captaincy shout. Look, I have been wounded by not captaining Haaland in the past, so I have actually felt the ramifications of the sort of making that decision. I think it was I remember it really well. At least the one time where I thought it was a really good shout to captain Kane. And Kane did return. Like, Kane did really well that weekend, but Haaland scored a hat-trick. And so it did hurt, and that was last season. So, I felt like I was actually, you know what, just coming back to the point that I did take a risk like that last season, and I'm pretty sure I was hovering around the 10k mark when I decided to go against Haaland and captain Kane, which felt like a really good time to captain Kane as well. So this time round, there's not going to be many opportunities to go against Haaland, but I feel like Spurs, with the form that they're in and Ange ball that they're playing at the moment, with how attacking they've been as well, I feel like this is probably going to be one of the best opportunities to go against Haaland and captain a Maddison or a Son. I've only got Maddison at the moment, so I've put my captaincy armband on Maddison. I have had it on Maddison for quite some time, and I have to admit, the course of this week, I've sort of seen so many messages that have come through, and I'm going to read out one that FPL Crisis actually sent in one of our group chats, where he said, he was getting a bit of deja vu with Maddison. I remember captaining him game week 8 or 9 last season, and he returned 36 points, which is bloody amazing, really. Only for Haaland to score 46 that week. So, interesting. Look, my reaction was, fuck, why did you tell me that? I can't unsee that. I can't unthink that either. And yeah, look, that's not what I wanted to know. So I was quite happy to be in this delusional bubble of, Spurs players are going to be the best captaincy shouts this game week. But we can't ignore the fact that Haaland is Haaland. Haaland is a robot, and he will probably get some really good returns against West Ham, which coincidentally as well, I found out along the way as I was sort of looking at other tweets and things. And that's the thing, as I sort of near the deadline, sometimes it's really bad to look at what the hell is going on out there. And other times it's like, oh yeah, this information is really useful. But I also saw that West Ham are in the top 5 for goals conceded as well so far. So take that as you will and make a decision based on a little bit of that information there. I don't know. Look, we know that Haaland is capable of returning back-to-back hat tricks. He's done it before. We saw that last season. We'll probably see him do that this season as well. But I do feel like City away is probably not a bad time to sort of go against him. In fact, I think I saw I'm going to see if I can find it in my bookmarks. I did bookmark a tweet that I came across from four Lex. I think it was 4Lex underscore MCFC. So they said something along the lines of, for me, this leaves us with a very simple formula for captaincy in FPL this season. Any game week City play at home, captain Haaland. Any game week City play away against a bottom six defence, captain Haaland. Any other game week, strongly consider captaining someone else. And I really love that. I'm going to see if I can very quickly just kind of share that with everyone as well. It wasn't sort of meant to be like a funny joke or anything like that. It was very much a genuine, at least it came across, very much a genuine kind of way of making decisions. About sort of going against Haaland, because it is a bloody scary thing to do, right? And I play FPL for fun, and once I've made a decision, I'm fairly detached from the decision making, process. Like for me, it's all about the decision making process, and so once I've made the decision, I'm detached from the outcome. And so in terms of that heartache or sort of feeling really down about my team and stuff like that, I don't feel that as much as probably a lot of other FPL managers. Also because I wouldn't say that I'm a casual manager, because I'm very much tuned into what's going on in the Premier League, but also FPL space as well. But yeah, look, I tend to. That's just how I play. I tend to be a little bit more detached from the outcome itself. But I really love this. I thought it was a really good way to kind of, make decisions about the captaincy, because let's face it, it has been really boring captaining Haaland game week after game week. And so, if there was a game week, so coming back to the main point, if there was a game week where I will probably not captain Haaland, this would probably be that game week. And so, Crisis, thank you for sort of bringing that to my attention. I really do appreciate it. And, this is where you sort of take information, process it the best possible way that you can for your team and your sort of risk appetite. And like sort of, life decisions as well, you make a decision based on what's there in front of you. So, yeah, look, I'm feeling a bit fearless at the moment. Not just because I'm almost 3 glasses of wine in now, but also because I feel like this is a good time to, captain against, Haaland. And so, yeah, look, if I don't bring in Son, I'm going to keep my captaincy on Maddison, and I'm just going to go for it. I'm sitting at 2.6 mil though, having said that. But like I mentioned earlier, I did also captain against Haaland last season when I was, within top 10k. So I'm quite happy to, captain against Haaland if it feels right. And I think this is definitely a game week where it feels a little bit more, right to do so. That's basically what I'm thinking with my team at the moment. That's probably enough of, rambling as well. I'm going to take a big swig of my wine and have a look if there were any other sort of comments or questions or anything like that. And I might do a very quick sort of summary of what these spaces are about. So, look, I started doing these spaces a couple of weeks ago. They were very much off the cuff, no preparation whatsoever. And I decided to take the opportunity to take a screen grab of the spaces that I'm doing with a video feed of myself and also my team as well, so I can pop it up onto YouTube as well. And it's just given me the opportunity to connect with the community and just talk about what I'm thinking and so forth, and hopefully someone out there or some of you will gain something from it, and I will learn something from you guys as well, which I have been over the past couple of years that I've been part of this community. um yeah, so yeah, it's been really good to chat to you all. It is fairly one-sided, so occasionally I have been sort of thinking about bringing in more guest speakers as well, just to have a conversation with them. Also, so that I can record this as well. So there's quite a few of you that do turn up on a regular basis. Thank you so much for showing your support as well. I do appreciate it. Love to kind of get you on here just to have a ramble and have a chat, not to have a super serious conversation either, and maybe a little bit of a serious conversation in between as well. But like I said, pure experimentation at the moment. Chucking this on YouTube. I haven't really been promoting my YouTube or anything like that. I haven't sort of been asking for subscribes or anything like that either. I think it's because I'm experimenting. It's just a really great way of just double downing and putting content up in multiple sort of channels and making it available. However, if you do find it on YouTube, and I'll post the video when I have uploaded it, please do check it out. And if you liked anything from this Spaces as well, please do give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more of that as well. And if you can't make it to Spaces, then at least you can catch it on YouTube and see my god awful sort of expressions along the way as well. Occasionally I'm sort of face palming and swearing. Actually, I haven't sworn so much this time, so that's a good thing. That's a good sign. It means international break has been good for me. I might feel differently about it after I see, how Gabriel works out or Jackson misses God knows how many chances. Actually, I shouldn't put that out into the universe. It's a terrible thing to do. But thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, give me feedback as well. Like if there's things that you want to hear more of or less of, or whatever it may be. I really do appreciate the feedback. Feedback is a gift. So yeah, the more the merrier. And thank you again. And take it easy. And hopefully I'll catch you guys next week if I'm not venturing over to Canberra next week. But yeah, I'm sure we'll sort something out in between as well. So yeah, very much appreciate it. Thank you again, and have a fantastic rest of the game week. And hopefully you all get some green arrows this time round, and you can be brave like me or crazy like me and captain a Spurs player this time. Good luck, everyone. Thank you again, and take it easy.